The question I'm going to ask today, Dad, Papa, is...
The question that we're going to talk about is...
What is the most scared I've ever been? That one leapt off the page for me.
What was my first big trip?
How was the day of your wedding?
I'm going to talk about how I almost died twice in 2 years.
She was telling me her life story, and she didn't know it was me.
That is an absolutely true story.
And I can tell you about it.
Welcome to the Storyworth Podcast. I'm your host, Krista Baum. If you're new to Storyworth, we help people write their life stories, the big stories and the small ones. Here's how it works. If you sign up for Storyworth, we email you or someone you invite a question every week. We ask questions that evoke memories. Things like, what was your childhood bedroom like? Or what was one of the most romantic moments in your life? You reply to the email, attach a photo if you want, and after you're finished, we make a hardbound book for you. The chapters of the book are filled with life stories. It's a beautiful way to capture a person's memories. Today on the podcast, the story of a man who got so into the Storyworth process, his family decided to hold a book launch party for him once his book was complete.
Okay, it is the Book of Norman launch party.
The title of the book is The Book of Norman, the First 88 Years of Norman Weiss.
He started writing it a year ago on Father's Day after my sisters and I bought him a subscription to Storyworth. Because my dad got so into this project, and I actually could tell that he was going to be a little sad when it was all over, we decided to have a sort of a book launch party and invite everybody for whom he ordered a copy.
Can you hear my voice? We're here for Norman Weiss's, book thing.
My name, Nick Kaufman.
Itamar.
Julie. Dara. I am Norman's daughter, the middle one.
Chicken or Chicky. It was a childhood nickname.
Norman is my grandfather.
So my name is Betty, which was my grandpa's mom's name.
His grandchildren.
I'm 8 and Emily's 10.
I'm 11.
You're 10, Emily.
I'm 11.
She's 10. Ow.
I'm Theo. I'm Norman's grandson.
I'm Jackie Weiss, and Norman Weiss is my father. We are at my apartment.
There's a little table set up, at a book signing, with a chair and pens and a stack of the books. And Norman will be signing them. That's it's very well executed by my sister and brother-in-law.
The most complicated thing was that we had to get smudge-free Sharpies so that he could sign the book, and we had sort of forgotten to do that till this morning, but luckily there's a stationery shop down the street.
Our family, we're sort of very ironic. So we sent out this invitation to the book party as though it were like a official book party. And so one of our guests was like, oh, my friend really wants to come, to the book party. And we're like, it's not really a book party. It's like bagels and everyone's going to eat a lot.
And we're all very excited to get a signed copy.
It's him. Norman Weiss has arrived. The doctor is in the house.
He's finally here. My grandparents, Norman and Bonnie Weiss, have arrived.
So glad that you're here. I'm Norman Weiss. I'm the author of the Book of Norman.
Everybody loves Norman, and that is the truth. My dad is 89 years old. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, raised in Brooklyn, New York. He became a psychiatrist, which he still practices as, which is amazing.
Norman has the best memory, not only of anyone in the family, anyone I have ever known. Norman has this incredible ability to extract the most minute details from decades and decades ago and put them into a book that makes it's readable.
That's the idea that I was able to come up with, conjure things up. For example, that when I was 9 years old, or in 1944, Christmas Eve, we would go to the Ice Capades at the New Yorker Hotel. And that Christmas Eve, 1941, I remember, was the Battle of the Bulge in Europe, World War II.
And he remembers that it was a Tuesday And the weather was fair to
I'm
middling.
afraid he's just making me better than I am. Yeah.
So we are celebrating the publication of the Book of Norman, which is my father, Norman Weiss's life story, as done through Storyworth over the course of nearly a year. My sisters and I got it for him as a gift, and he really embraced the process.
He is the most relentless creative director I've ever worked with. And sometimes that was like really small things, like he would just get really funny about a detail or a photo. And certainly, especially towards the end, we thought we would never finish because, you know, he kept having updates and being like, maybe this should be this order. Maybe we should title it this. This picture isn't right. This detail I said isn't right. I forgot this one piece. I have to go back. So the end was slow because he was relentless.
He made us make copies for like every person in the family. Each of my nieces gets one, even though they live in the same house. So everyone's going to get their copy today. But I think we'll all just enjoy it and ask him questions about it and bask in his pride.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm glad that we have like 5 minutes before the first people that have to leave. The Book of Norman began as a Father's Day gift to Poppy a year ago in June, and it has become, ever since, a major project and volume with a limited but highly targeted distribution. I think basically everybody that is due a copy is present today. Many of you received updates as the author wrote his life story. However, the final edition of the book contains illustrations and artifacts and some edits, a lot of edits actually, although most of them will be so subtle that you will not be able to perceive them. My co-editors were Dewey and Chicky. And as Chicky noted, Poppy was perhaps the most unrelenting creative director that she has worked with over the course of her entire career. Anyway, beyond the exceptional attention to detail in this volume, what you're going to find in it is the story of a life lived with a spirit of optimism, curiosity, adventure, openness, and passions pursued. It is a guide for all of us on how to live our own lives, and therefore a great gift for everybody who will receive a copy. It has been a total joy to work on it with this author, and it's a treasure for all of us to have, and one that we're going to keep for generations. So we share our love and congratulations with the author Norman Weiss on its publication today.
Thank you. Well, this was an extraordinary effort. One thing that I'm very happy about is that the first edition was totally sold out. So that doesn't happen for every author. I think Jackie may have mentioned this, but when I first got this, I was polite and I thanked my 3 girls for the gift. And what they weren't noticing was what was jangling around in my head, which was, how am I going to do such a thing? A once a week story? I mean, I'm a busy man. And then what happened, which is a miracle for me, is that after very short order, I started writing, and I kept writing, and I kept writing, and I saw that not only did I have the concentration, but I also had the imagination and memory. I was able to think of things that I probably haven't thought about, in some cases, 70 years, that I was reminded with regard to my growing up years and other times as well. And I must say that this had a profound effect on me. And all I can say is that I am a different person now than I was a year ago. Don't ask me to explain that because I can't, but I can feel it. And it is, when I say a different person, I mean that in the most positive way. And I have thanked Jackie, Dara, and Carolyn before, but I'm going to thank you once more again. And Chicky, I apologize for being so tough on you. I didn't mean that, but we had a job to be done. So maybe I'll just leave it at that. And I guess the sequel to this book should be coming out in about 2 years. Thank you.
After everyone's done eating, well, really when the author's done, he's going to be signing copies back there.
Congratulations, Poppy. Eli, thank you. Nice words. Yeah.
I'm getting my book signed.
Poppy here is writing little handwritten dedications on each of the different copies of the books.
My grandfather, who I call Poppy, is diligently sitting at a desk with a stack of the Book of Normans.
How do you spell these?
Niece. I-E, yeah. I think my favorite part of the book was just getting to read his writing and getting a sense of like how he thinks about things, and he's so witty and kind, and it was just fun seeing the world through his writing.
A New York accent, this like funny, loving edge. It was like just a funny way.
My cousin, who's over there, was always very good at asking Poppy questions about his life, and it's something that I don't really ever think to do because I'm just like, oh, like there will be time. There will always be time. It's great to be able to connect with the stories that just like happened before any of us were alive. So it's exciting.
I don't know. I mean, just having flipped through this for a few minutes now, I feel like it feels very relatable. I don't know. Like there is a certain like aesthetic of like New York high schooler that I feel like rings true both in his high school pictures in here and the ones that I have from a few years ago. But I think at the end of the day, like there is a sort of like fundamental experience we have in common being like young Jewish men in New York.
What is that, like when you find out about the details of a person in your family's life that suddenly corresponds to something that happened at your age, you suddenly realize that everyone is the same.
Yeah, it kind of makes me excited for how much life I have left to live. I mean, he spent a lot of time talking about his early childhood, but there were so many adventures that he went on later, and like in each decade of his life. So I'm excited for all the family history that is left to make, I guess.
That's it for this episode of the Storyworth Podcast. I'm Krista Baum. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to get started writing your own book of life stories or want to give the gift of Storyworth to a loved one, head over to Storyworth.com. And if you want one of your stories to be considered for the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us at Storyworth.com/podcast. The Storyworth Podcast was produced by the folks at Good Weight Productions. Remember, everyone has a story worth sharing. See you soon.